how we actually go about enforcing and monitoring established baselines that we've already gone through. So the primary tool that we use for this is the Security Center. Surprise, surprise. So there's three main aspects to the Security Center. The first two are highlighted there. So being able to strengthen that security posture, what that actually means. So what your attack surface is, where potential threats are, and that's done through two main components of secure score and looking at policies and compliance. The next section of that is looking at how we can protect you against these threats. You're looking at how we can protect service, endpoint protection, vulnerability scans, things like that, looking at things that aren't derived from service. So as we move more to cloud native, more platform services, we talked about web apps earlier. So how can I secure that? I can't install an endpoint agent. I can't install Sophos on that. How would I protect that? And the same for storage and databases. When we're shifting away from assets and resources that we can interact with the operating system, the kernel, we can get under the skin of what's going on. The more and more we move to that cloud native platform delivered service means we don't have as much options or controls. How can I then protect against threats in a similar fashion, or understand what these threats are? Security Center and then wrap itself up with this get secure faster type of way of thinking, which ultimately leads you to being able to enforce policies, find out where things are drifting from certain baselines and why they're drifting, how you can remediate that. It's about getting in there quickly to ensure that the time between detection and remediation is minimal, because obviously that's where there's a lot of risk presented to your organization. So the security posture. So as with the Microsoft 365 things, hopefully people are aware of the secure score aspects from there. Microsoft have applied this to the Azure environment as well. So it's about gamifying security, try and make it as competitive as possible. So they assign a score to each component based on impact and vulnerabilities. So you can see there they've got different categories for access, compute, database services, networks, and some of the web apps that we talked about. And then depending on how they're configured, what vulnerabilities lay within the configuration of these services, and how they're prioritized will give a score. So you can see there access has got +50, whereas the servers, the SQL service there is +5. So you can see there, well, potentially the SQL server is configured in a secure manner, whereas some of the access, that maybe there's some things there that are a risk to your organization, and that will culminate in an overall score for your environment there. So you can see out of a possible 1.5 thousand scores, we're meeting 679 of them. So is that good or bad? It's unique to each organization as well. So what we do as a service is obviously go through a lot of this and help you understand what this score means. It's a metric at the end of the day, but how can we get that as far around to completion as possible, but what that impact means for you. So some of these impact scores are almost impossible to achieve. That it means you have to lock down services, you have to enforce lots and lots of governance controls to assets and resources. So it might not be achievable for an organization, but understanding what it means if you enable it or don't enable it for your organization is probably more important than the actual score. So we utilize the secure score. It's a good barometer of what's happening with you within your environment and all of the evaluated categories. But more importantly, it allows you as an organization to understand what the risks are if you don't enable a service, or enable or configure a service, or don't configure a service, and what that means in terms of security posture and an impact to your operational practice within your organization. So being able to strengthen that security posture and manage the policies and access compliance easily. So utilizing that rapid service that Azure Security Center can give you. So here's an example of how we can highlight certain deviances from certain baselines. So I want to know, for example, when a machine is provisioned without antivirus, what happens at that point. Okay, I want a policy that will say that I don't want any machine without AV. I want you to install my antivirus endpoint, Sophos, whoever it is, McAfee. I want you to be able to install that onto the machine. I don't want that machine doing anything. I want to restrict network access until it meets this baseline. So enforcing a policy to a virtual machine is quite a simplistic one there, but it helps you understand how policy can be implemented across there. Same for so some of the compliance thresholds. So if you are a PCI compliant organization, that's not just when the audit happens, that's an ongoing process. You need to demonstrate that you have ongoing controls in place for when things happen. So having a notification or an alert being raised when something deviates from that non-compliance is fantastic. You can demonstrate to an auditor if something does deviate, because the real world happens, things do go wrong, but understanding and being able to say, look, this has deviated because of this. Okay, let's get that back into compliance, or let's look at the compliance and maybe make a change because we're doing things a bit differently. Having that agility within that organization. I want to know when things are unencrypted or they're insecure, or I've got ports that are open. These are all common basic things that you want to know about, but you want to mitigate. You want to set policies to say, these are the common things that I want to see. What am I going to do about it? Well, I want to create a policy that understands them, and then I can access the who's not in line, and then I can remediate who's not in line and find out why they're not in line.